So it starts off with the righteous parents. It starts off with an instance, subhanAllah, of righteous parents. You want righteous children? Think about it before you get married. Think about righteousness, the righteousness of your children before you actually get married. It starts off with the parents. Now, Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, his name was al-Nuʿmān. All right? His name was al-Nuʿmān. Al-Nuʿmān ibn Thābit. And his physical appearance is that he was very tall, very handsome. He had brown skin. He had the mark of sujood on his forehead, a very clear mark of sujood on his forehead. He had the mark of tears on his cheeks from the amount of crying that he used to do. And one thing about him, he wore the nicest of clothes. He was very well dressed. And subhanAllah, despite the marks of tears and the mark of sujood and so on and so forth, always smiling, always laughing, a very easygoing person. And subhanAllah, when you study the life of Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, it's amazing how easygoing he was. Very easygoing person. He also, the first two Imams of the four Imams were very wealthy. Imam Abū Ḥanīfa and Imam Malik, when you study them, you're going to study very rich, wealthy men, very well dressed, very high in their society and things of that sort, that lived very good lives. Alright? So you're not going to study, and that automatically shatters the appearance of the Imams of the past. They weren't hermits, they weren't living in masajid and things of that sort and not interacting with their society. They were both very, very successful people, lived in very nice houses, ate very well, dressed very well, and had that sort of influence on their society. So how does he get rich? Where does the wealth come from? His father was Khazzaz. His father was a silk trader. Okay? And Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah ta'ala grew up helping his father in business. So he learned very early on how to make patterns, how to sew clothes together. So Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, his description as a merchant, by the way, and subhanAllah, this is just how smart he was. Alright? He was able to look at a piece of cloth and without really touching it, he could already tell you what its material was, whether it was good quality or not. He could guess the price by looking at it, and he could look at the cloth, he could properly choose them when he went to the marketplace and bought cloth, and then when he put it together, Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah was very skilled in making patterns and so on and so forth. So Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah was a skilled silk trader very, very early on with his father. Alright, he helped his father, and subhanAllah, the narrations actually, they say that he went with his father to business when he was 5 years old. Like, his father started bringing him along and he started learning the trade, he started teaching him when he was 5 years old. Now, what was his father's reputation in the marketplace? Remember Imam al-Bukhari's father? His father's reputation was two things. Number one, halal wealth. Halal rizq. The man will not earn a penny of haram. He will not jack up a price on you. He will not swear by his product, which the Prophet ﷺ forbade, to say, Wallahi, this is the best out there. He wouldn't do any of that. Very honest businessman, and he was known for his taqwa. He was known for his fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he was so afraid of wronging anyone he did business with in the marketplace. Subhanallah, I always hear this, because we're going to talk right now. I want to talk about how Imam Abū Ḥanīfa was as a merchant as well. Before and after he becomes a scholar. You tell someone to leave haram earning and haram income, and they say, if I do that, then I'm going to be broke. And that shows that you've forgotten who al-Razzaq is. You've forgotten who the one who gives sustenance is, right? That shows that you actually have an issue in your creed. If you think that by giving up haram, Allah is going to put you into poverty. So these people were very, very, very honest. Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, that's his reputation as a businessman as well. He never lied about what he had, never lied about his product. He never took advantage of an ignorant customer. Because nowadays, mashallah, there are a lot of ignorant customers, and we're usually of them, the ignorant consumers. You walk into a place, and because it has a certain brand name on it, and because of whatever, a few sentences, you'll pay a few $100s extra, because it's supposedly a lot better, but the quality of it, we can't even tell, we can't look at it. Alright? So he didn't take advantage of those people. He never swore to sell a product. He never made a profit off of a poor person. Which means that if Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah had someone in front of him that was clearly barely making it, Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah would sell the garment to that person at cost price. He wouldn't make a profit off of someone that was in difficult circumstances. He never lied about a defect in a garment. This was common, especially back then in the aswaq. It still is in the marketplaces, right? If you have something in the food that's not really good, then you hide that part with a good outer appearance. If a cloth has a defect in it, then you find a way to patch it up, whatever it may be, put something on it, stitch over it. So he never lied about any defect or any damage of a garment. Another thing about him, which is very not like the Muslim world today, Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah only sold at fixed prices, never bargained. He just felt like it wasn't his thing. So if you gave him a price he didn't like, he just said, sorry, jazakallah khair. He wouldn't sit there and bargain with you. He felt like it wasn't, he just didn't want to do it. It's not haram to bargain, so don't be afraid when you go to Hajj and Umrah, you have to bargain, all right? But Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah said, you know, look, this is what it is. This is the price of the garment. I'm not being rude, but I'm not going to sit here and argue with you and say 500, 400, 300. Khalas, this is what, and you know, I honestly am giving you what is the price that I paid for it, and you know, I had a set amount of profit that I'm making off of each garment, you know, whether it was 50 dirhams or something like that. That's it, khalas. I have my cost price, I put 50 on it, I sell it. So don't come up and try to bargain with him and argue with him. If you don't want to buy it, there are plenty of other, you know, people there. And that shows you his dignity, by the way. The man had a lot of izzah, and that's not a bad quality to have. He didn't want to belittle himself. You know, he felt like it would be beneath him to do so, not because of arrogance, but khalas. He didn't want to sit there and argue with people over the garment. So he never praised his own products. And this is also something very, very, very rare. Never, like if you came to him, he wasn't going to say, oh brother, mashallah, let me show you this. This is the best product out there. You know, I went myself to China and I got it, then I took it to Turkey and I crafted it my own self, and then, you know, this is the best thing out there and you know that I'm not selling you. He never praised his own product. Like, he refused to. It is what it is. You like it, you like it. You don't like it, you don't like it. And subhanAllah, there's even a story that happened with his son Hamad, because he did what his father did. His father took him at a young age and made him help him out in silk trading. He brought Hamad, his own son. And Hamad one time was with him, and Hamad would, you know, just imagine a business, you know, subhanAllah, like any business. He had his stool, he would stand up on his stool, he would get whatever clothes were there, whatever garments, and then he'd pull it out. And one time a man came and he said, how much is this? And Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah said, it's 300 dirhams, okay? So he said, can I see it? So Abū Ḥanīfa said to Hamad, go get it. So Hamad got up and Hamad looked at the garment and he went, Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad. He did salawat, but he's looking at this like, man, these are some nice clothes. So Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, he said, yes, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but he says, laqad madahtahu, you praised it. So he said, la bay' wa la shira. He said, I'm sorry, I can't sell this to you. The man's like, what? Like, what do you mean you can't sell it to me? Abū Ḥanīfa said, that's a principle that I have. I don't praise my own garments and then sell them. SubhanAllah. So the man's like, it's okay. All he said was salawat. And Abū Ḥanīfa was like, I'm sorry. I don't praise my own products, my own inventory. And this is against my principle. So he told Hamad to put it back, and he told the man, you could look at something else. I'm not going to sell you that garment. SubhanAllah. This is how strict he is. And another time, you had a woman that came to him and tried to sell him clothes. And Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, when she tried to sell it to him, she said 200, this is for 200 dirhams. He said, it's not worth 200 dirhams, it's worth more. Like, you imagine someone coming to sell you a garment and they say, I'll give it to you for 200. Now, I'm not saying go on eBay and put on a bid and then say, you know what, I'm sorry, actually, you know, seller in China, this iPhone case is worth a lot more, right? But the point is look at the honesty of this man. This person comes to him and says 200, and he says, it's, you know, I don't want you to get a bad deal. It's really worth more than 200. So she said 300. He said it's worth more than 300. She said 400. He said it's worth more than 400. So the woman said, are you making fun of me? I mean, if you don't want to buy the garment, just don't buy it, right? He's like, no, I'm telling you the truth. It's really worth a lot more. Like, you're going to get a bad deal out of this. The garment you're trying to sell is a lot better than you think it is. So Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah said, wait here. So he went and he called another guy that had his shop, and he said, come see this. So he brought him over. And he said, how much is this garment worth? So the man looked at it, he said about 500 dirhams. So the woman was shocked. So Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah said, do you want to buy it from her? She's trying to sell it. He said, yeah, sure, I'll take it for 500. So he bought the garment, and the woman's looking at him like, subhanAllah, like, I brought it to, she was about to give it to him for 200. He said, no, it's worth more. Got the other guy from another shop, right? Said, okay, you know, do you want to buy it for 500? And he bought it. So he was that honest to that point. SubhanAllah, even after he became an alim, even after he became a scholar, he went into business, and he had a, you know, basically what he did was he dedicated his time. He'd come up, you know, in the morning, open up his shop, do what he had to do. Then he had a partner that would watch it by the name of Hafs ibn Abd al-Rahman. He told Hafs ibn Abd al-Rahman, you watch it and then I'll come back at night and so on and so forth. All right? So Hafs ibn Abd al-Rahman one day, he told him that there is a defect in this cloth. Don't sell this cloth unless you show the person the defect. Meaning don't forget there's a defect. It's very subtle, it's very hidden, but make sure you show it to that person. So Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah left in the morning on that understanding. He came back and he didn't see that garment. So he said to Hafs, what happened to the garment? And he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I forgot what you told me. Naseet, I just forgot. And it really was that subtle of a defect that he forgot to show it just because, you know, he was in the process, he's in the marketplace, things are moving really fast. And he forgot to. Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah said, do you remember the customer? He said, no. Like, I mean, do you remember who it is so we can go back to that person, reimburse them, do something? He said, no. He said, how much did you sell it for? He said, about 500 dirhams. Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah was so upset by that he fired Hafs, number one. He broke his partnership. He said, look, I can't trust you with this stuff anymore. And he gave his entire day of sadaqah away. He gave his entire day of profit away. Not just the 500 dirhams, he's, you know, as a means of seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gave everything away that day. Because he was so afraid of haram money coming into his possession that he wanted to get rid of it. SubhanAllah. He just wanted to get rid of the money that day, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. And he went and he got another partner. So you have that with the business side. Now, what was he with his money? What was he like with his money? SubhanAllah, he brought his son, and every day, these are the simple things. Now, I know a lot of these things, you just look at them and you say, I can't do that. Every day, Imam Abū Ḥanīfa would give his son 10 dirhams and say, go give it to some of the poor. Every single day at the end, as they were closing up their shop, he would say, take these 10 dirhams and go find the poor and give it to them. So he's also teaching his son sadaqah. He's teaching his child sadaqah at a very early age. And also we find that, subhanAllah, every Friday on the day of Jum'ah, Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah used to give 20 dinar of charity. Now dinars are gold coins. He would give 20 dinars of sadaqah on behalf of his parents who had passed away. His parents passed away when he was still a young man. So he would give 20 dinars on behalf of them, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity, every single Friday. We see that once he loaned a man of money. So he was someone that used to loan people money as well. And he loaned this man 10,000 dirhams, which is a pretty large sum of money. And the man was supposed to pay him back at a certain time. And the man couldn't come up with it. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that those who are easy with taking back their loans will have the shade of Allah's throne on the Day of Judgment. He mentioned them as one of the categories of those people that will be under the shade of Allah's throne. You loan someone money, and they're unable to make it on time, and you go easy on them. You tell them, it's okay, take a month, take 2 more months, take your time, do what you can. So this man was so shy, and he was like, Abū Ḥanīfa is gonna call me out in front of everyone. You took money from the Imam of the city, someone who's very well known. Imagine if Abū Ḥanīfa stands up and says, that guy that you guys know, Ahmed, he owes me 10,000 dirhams. Imagine what would happen to him. So he just went into hiding. So Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, one time he was walking in the marketplace, and the man went and hid behind someone's booth, because he saw Abū Ḥanīfa. And Abū Ḥanīfa went up to him and he said, what's wrong? And the man said, he started giving him all these apologies, like, I'm sorry, I couldn't come back to you. This happened and this happened. The same story every time. I've got a hungry daughter in the car and I don't have enough gas, and the story that you hear at every gas station. Gave him a long story, I can't pay you back, and so on and so forth. Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah said, you've been hiding because of that? And he said, yeah. Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, he hugged the man and he begged him for forgiveness for making him feel like he had to hide his face in society. SubhanAllah, look at the difference in character here. He's like, don't worry about the loan. He's like, I'm sorry for making you feel that way. That you even had to hide from me and hide your face in society because you couldn't pay 10,000 dirhams. We also find that one of the people he loaned the money to, and this is his fear of riba as well, his fear of interest as well. Interest is a serious thing. We're not talking about the percentages here. We're talking about something very subtle. One time he's walking out and he started to rest under, again, there were trees that were coming out of someone's garden. It was covering a certain area, so he rested under that shade. And he said, by the way, do you guys know who this house is for? So they said the name of a person that Abū Ḥanīfa had given money to. He loaned him money. So Imam Abū Ḥanīfa got up and he sat outside of the shade and he sat in the sun. And he said, why are you sitting outside of the shade? And he said, because I fear that Allah will consider it riba. Allah would consider it interest if I benefit from his shade, as well as the money that he's going to pay me back with. SubhanAllah, I don't even want to benefit from his shade, you know. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala charged me with that on the Day of Judgment. There are many, many different things. There are so many things, incidents with his money. But I'll just mention two more, then inshallah ta'ala we'll move on. There's a narration from Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu that Ali was asked, how much money do you need to survive? Like, how much money do you need to do well? So he said 4,000 dirhams. All right, 4,000 dirhams. So Imam Abū Ḥanīfa rahimahullah, he would always count his money to 4,000 dirhams, and anything above that he would give it away in charity. So he took that principle of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu to only keep with him 4,000 dirhams and to, you know, support students of knowledge, to feed the poor, and so on and so forth. Now that's obviously something very, very hard to do. But it's just to mention his virtues here. And one of the most beautiful things I'll mention here as well with his sadaqah, he used to tell the people that he'd give money to, he would say to them, spend to fulfill your needs. Go ahead and fulfill your needs. And don't thank anyone except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't thank anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, I did not give you anything of my own possession. This wasn't my wealth that I gave to you. But it's a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was transferred to you through me. And he said, this is the profit of your own spending. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed this money will come to you because of something that you did, or because of Allah's mercy upon you. I was just the means, like I'm just the middleman in this transaction. So don't thank me and don't praise me. This is from Allah to you. And Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he actually said, you know, when you give sadaqah, don't see yourself as giving charity to a person, but instead see that Allah is using you to deliver money to someone that Allah has decreed for them. And you're just blessed to be in the process, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used you as the middleman.